Good morning and welcome to On the Beat. My name is Kim Mastrofino, and with me today is Martin Chan and Joe Hildreth. Let's check in with the Beat team today to see how they're doing on this fine winter morning. So, Martin, how's it going?
Doing wonderful. It's sunny and cold winter day.
It is a cold winter day, but hey, it is what it is, right?
Yes, it's winter.
It is winter, so we have to
Fortunately.
expect a little cold in the winter, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good and great to be here.
How's Annie the cat?
Good.
Yeah. She attending the broadcast this morning?
I don't know.
She's probably sleeping, right?
Yeah.
All right, she's gonna
Yeah.
sleep through it. We'll give her that. So anyway, today we have a very special guest. His name is the Reverend Dr. Cal Lord. He is the pastor for the Central Baptist Church. He also is the chaplain for the Stonington Police Department and the Watch Hill Fire Department. He, in addition to that, he also is a Rotarian with the Rotary Club of Westerly. So please welcome Cal Lord.
Good morning. It's nice to be here today with you.
Hi, Cal.
Hi, good morning.
It's so great to have you. We know how busy you are. You're just everywhere. So we do appreciate you taking the time to chat with us this morning. All right. So we, as you know, Joe and Martin will be conducting the interview questions, and we're going to learn more about what you're involved in, Cal, and we look forward to hearing everything that is going on. So, Joe, you do have the first question, so are you ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Hey, Cal, for those new to the broadcast, can you tell us about yourself?
Well, yeah. I grew up in Colchester, Connecticut. And then I went to the University of Connecticut and got my degree in sociology and human development and family relations. But at that time, I started feeling a call to ministry. So I went on to get my master's degree and then later my doctorate at Andover Newton Theological School up in Boston. Personally, I love sports. Always been involved in sports. My two major league teams are, I love in baseball, the Detroit Tigers. That's why my handle is calstigers@gmail.com. And I love the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we were having a great year, but everything fell apart. I'm a Trekkie. I like Star Trek. I love presidential history. And so, this week is very interesting to me to see a transition, a new president coming in. I've got all kinds of biographies and bobbleheads and stuff like that. I'm married and I have 3 grown daughters. But most of all, I love Jesus. That's kind of why I went into ministry. I felt this call when I was in high school. I put it off and then decided to follow the call of Jesus into ministry when I was in college. Actually, when I was 10 years old. My mom and dad separated. My mom had some real emotional problems and left home. And one of my dad's friends said to him, you're a single parent, you need support. And we've got a great community at my church. And as a little boy, the church became my family. And I've been trying to provide that type of atmosphere in the churches that I've served ever since, to be there with those who are hurting and those who are looking for help and hope.
Wow, that's great.
It's wonderful. Sounds like you have a lot of interests.
Yes, I do. My wife says I have too many hobbies.
You can't have too many. Oh, that's awesome. Martin, you ready for the next question?
Yes. Hey, Cal. Can you describe your role as a pastor for the Central Baptist Church and update us on how the church is doing now and how has COVID-19 affected you, how you operate?
Yeah, the whole COVID-19 has been a challenge, I think, for everyone, and no matter what you're doing or where you're serving. I came to Westerly, to the Central Baptist Church, about 10 years ago, and my pastoral philosophy has always been that of a shepherd. And by shepherd, I mean someone who cares for the people who are part of the congregation. As I mentioned, from part of my history, that the pastor and the people there really cared for my dad, my younger brother, and I. And so I've kind of kept that philosophy. And with the COVID, it's made it really hard because I'm a people person, and for 12 weeks back last spring, we had to shut down. And so the virtual was no one here at church on Sundays. We scrambled like most people, and we got online with Facebook Live. But Sunday mornings, I tried to be upbeat and positive for my people, but it was a little depressing because there was no one in the congregation. And also it meant no visitation. So when people were sick, if there was a funeral or people had planned weddings, it was all that disappointment. We managed to kind of find ways to reach out with cards and letters and phone calls. We have had we've had in-person worship since June 14th. Small crowds because a lot of people are still very cautious. But we set up a very strong protocol. So from the time you get out of your car, you got to wear a mask, you come in, you have your temperature taken, you wash your hands. We've designed a way into the sanctuary where there's social distancing. We've marked off the pews so that everybody is 6 feet away from each other. We've asked people to make reservations. So we really feel we have a very safe environment on Sunday mornings. Yet still attendance is in the sanctuary is about a third of what it was before. But what we did was we also knew there were people who wanted to be in community. And so in late summer and now right through, I think through the winter, we have what we call parking lot services.
Yeah.
We have a big parking lot. And so we've got a hay wagon someone donated. I get on the hay wagon with a little pulpit. We have it. So we have a radio transmitter. People can come in their cars, sit there and listen to the service. Our organist comes out with a little keyboard and plays the couple of hymns. And so it's really great. And that's been growing. We have almost as many people outside as we have inside now. And it's I feel a little bit like, and I don't know if you know Robert Schuller. He was a great television preacher, Crystal Cathedral, and they started at a drive-in theater. So every time I get up there, I think of Robert Schuller.
Wow, that's interesting. That's great.
That's very, very ingenious. You're thinking outside the box there.
You have to. I talked to a local businessman once, and I said, "How are you doing?" And that's exactly what he said. He said, "In business, in order to survive, you have to do things you never thought about doing before." Yeah. And so that's the same kind of thing that we're trying to do. Is we reach out and provide community and minister to people. I've had funerals, and it's sad because you can only have a few people, and you can't hug people, and that's the hardest part.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I guess we're kind of mourning the human connection in a sense.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question, Cal? The nursery school at Central Baptist Church, was that still running during COVID?
Well, what happened was, just like everything else in that initial period last March, it shut down and it really closed down for the rest of the school year. And I think it's because nobody fully understood. Everybody was afraid. If you remember back then, you didn't even want to touch anything. And a lot of people really sheltered in their homes, didn't go out. So in the abundance of safety, and we just closed down. As we look to the fall, our nursery school director and the teachers did extensive training on how to set up a safe space for people. And the nursery school normally follows the regular school year calendar, but when it comes to COVID protocols, they're actually under the child care laws. So that, we've had the state come in and look, and we've adjusted our practices. We had to hire a third person. Right now we have 2 people that are on staff. We added a third to kind of help make sure that there's a proper check-in procedure and exit procedure, as well as just kind of helping to maintain the distance with the kids. So
wow, it's a great nursery school. My son went there years ago, and he just loved it, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful nursery school.
Yeah, it's over 50 years old. Last year they celebrated the 50th anniversary of the Central Nursery School, and it really was one of the first in the area to recognize the fact that this developmental process for kids is so important. And so we made it a part of our ministry, and I can say that for almost the whole 51 years now, we've looked at it as an extension of ministry. We don't proselytize. We don't force people, say, oh, you're going to join our church or anything. It's for everyone. So we have Catholic, Jews, Protestants who have come. but we add the component of faith. So they say prayers before the dinner. They recognize the holidays. They're not afraid to talk about Christmas as being the birth of Jesus or Easter being the resurrection. So it adds in that little bit. Plus, they do quality preparation for the kids. Our kids enter into the public school systems. I would say many of them ahead of some of the others. So
yeah, that's amazing work. So that's awesome. Great for our community.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, I think Joe, do you have the next question?
Yes.
All right, I was right.
Can you tell us more about your role as chaplain for the Watch Hill Fire Department and the Stonington Police Department?
Yeah, a lot of the things that I do outside the church really are done as a way of modeling what I think we're all called to do with our faith. There's the piety where you come and you worship and you study, you read the Bible, you pray, but we're also called to be the hands and feet of Christ. And so instead of just being the general who's standing behind the line saying, go out there and do it, I kind of lead the way, kind of like George Washington. That's my presidential history. George Washington very often was at the head of the line with his troops. And so what I've tried to do is find ways that I can serve the wider community. And several years ago, Pastor Sunil Chandy from Christ Church and I started talking. I was the president of the Clergy Association, and he said, we used to do this big thing where we would honor and recognize and celebrate our first responders. And so we put that into place about 5 years ago. And through that, it began to make connections with the different leaders of the first responder communities. And Darren Stewart, who is the chief of police in Stonington, was talking to us, and he said, we really could use something like a chaplaincy program here. And at the same time, the Watch Hill Fire Department Chief Bob Peacock had said to me, can you come down and bless our vehicles and get to know some of the people? So that opened up an avenue for me to start doing things. In the Stonington Police Department, went through chaplaincy training, and now there's a core of 4 of us who are chaplains. And our main job there is they call us when there's a really difficult situation, say a death notification. Many of the police officers who are so great and so dedicated, sometimes that's a hard thing for them. They're not trained in it, or they're getting training, but they still feel uncomfortable. Not that I love doing it, but the truth is that I bring my compassionate spirit, and I've had probably about 5 or 6 calls where I've had to go and be with the police officers and share the news, and it's horrifying, and so we do that along with trying to find ways to encourage and build up the police officers. We try to hold some special functions. Yesterday, I actually brought a dozen donuts down. Just to say,
That helps.
thank you for what you do. I was tempted to eat them myself, but so we try to find these little things to do to encourage them. We had a great time a couple of weeks ago with both Westerly and Stonington, where we had bagpipers come in and we just saluted them. And it's been a really hard time for police stations, police departments around the country because of some of the things that happened with George Floyd and afterwards. With the fire department, I got involved. They invited me to bless the vehicles, and then they invited me to come and to their annual dinner and to say a prayer. And so I started talking with some of the members, and I said, well, is there any other way I can help? And they invited me to be officially the chaplain. And then I started going every once in a while, and then I said, well, could I kind of learn some things, and I want to be helpful. So I'm actually a firefighter too. I'm not the one who will run in and save, the cat or dog in a burning building, but to provide support. So I'm learning how to run the hose, how to put together a rehabilitation, do accountability checks, and find out where people are, raising ladders, all this kind of stuff that's so helpful. And then the big thing is I try to spend some time down at the station, getting to know the guys and gals that are there. And it's interesting because we have some great conversations just around life in general, because, life isn't always easy. And sometimes it's just nice to have someone to talk to. And so we have some great talks about things. And sometimes it really drifts into the spiritual.
Well, that sounds really amazing. I have a couple questions for you, Cal.
Yep.
I'm going to quiz you here. So when you're in the fire department, do you go down the pole?
No, yeah, yes, that's true. I thought that'd be really cool. I think there were so many people who broke their legs or OSHA or someone said that's not a good idea. I've been in the Westerly Fire Department. I think they still have a pole there, but I think it's blocked off. So no, we don't get that. I was looking forward to that.
Wow, that's funny. That's funny. So do all fire departments and police departments have chaplains, a chaplain program?
No,
No.
they don't. It's interesting. When I was in Norwich for 26 years at the First Baptist Church before coming here, and back in the early 2000s, I was approached because I was the president of the clergy there about a chaplain program for the Norwich Police Department. And there was a fellow up in Bill Hinckley, his name was. He was up in Putnam, and one of the officers had reached out to him. So it really is an officer-led thing. And I think in many departments, it has to have the approval of the chief, but there has to be somebody there who thinks that it would help. And in Norwich, they were having a lot of issues, and I think people were just struggling with a lot of things. And so that happened. I couldn't do that because I had some health issues, but they got a great, strong chaplain corps there. And so in Westerly, I have a good relationship. Many of the clergy do with Chief Lacey, and he knows that he can call us, but they haven't really kind of got into that. They've been dealing with a lot of other things, and COVID came along. Once the program was up and running very well in Stonington. COVID came along, and again, it kind of pushes a lot of other things to the back burner. In fire departments, some do. Pat Moody is a chaplain for an ambulance service in Stonington, and I think the Pawcatuck Fire Department. Wayne Eberly, it was funny because through these community services, Wayne Eberly, who's at Dunn Corners Presbyterian Church, Community Church, they asked him to be the chaplain at the Dunn's Corner Fire Department. He's got a helmet and everything. I was very jealous because he got his helmet,
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. He's a nice guy as well. Yeah. All right. Ready for the next question, Martin? I think it's you, right?
Yeah. Can you also describe your role as Rotarian with Rotary Club of Westerly? What is the Rotary Club currently doing now?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Again, like I said, I was in Norwich for all those years. I actually started at the Cross Mills Baptist Church in Charlestown, a little small church. I loved it. They were great to me. And then I went to Norwich for 26 years. And when I was in Norwich, I had a couple of members of my church who were members of the Rotary Club there, and they kept inviting me to meetings. And it's really funny because I went a couple of times, and then they approached me about joining. And I said to the fella, I said, yeah, but they meet every week, don't they? That's a big commitment. How can you expect anybody to commit to meeting every week? And he said, yeah, it's kind of like church. Got me there, And they said, because of what we do and how we strive to reach out and serve the community, it's something that many of us just like to do. And so I actually joined the Rotary Club there in 1991.
Oh, wow.
Westerly in 2011. I looked at the Rotary Club here, and it was funny because Lisa Kanicki of the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce, I went to her and I said, I'm trying to think, should I join the chamber or should I join the Rotary Club? And she said, well, let me tell you, the Rotary Club of Westerly is a small club, but they impact the community in so many ways, and you'd be well served to do that. So I joined. I was the president, and I've served on a number of committees. It's one of those avenues that I kind of try to show we're giving back, we're serving in the community. I'm living out my faith that way. And I say to everybody, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be a minister to serve Christ. You can do that in your job as a lawyer, as a teacher, as a nurse, as a social worker. And it's just, you have that mindset. So the Rotary Club right now, this year, they're doing a number of things, especially during COVID. Past President Catherine Taylor and then current President Rona Mann have really tried to step up and fill the gap. So in the worst part of the early days of the pandemic, they were helping Johnny Cake Center. They're running individuals. They have been trying to provide meals, do things like that. And then what they've tried to do is piggyback and promote other great causes. So there was a little boy who needed a wheelchair. I think his name was Ryder. And they got involved with that and raised quite a bit of money, made public awareness, and this little boy got his wheelchair. And we're so proud that we were able to be a part of that and just kind of that bringing awareness to that. we've also been involved because Rotary has a lot of connections outside of our community and internationally. We know some of our members have gone up to Providence to bring PPP back to the area. There've been wherever there's been a need, a lot of people have reached out to the Rotary, and we only have about 25 members right now, but each one has their own thing. We put up signs around town thanking the first responders, thanking the healthcare workers, and just recently, as the kids and teachers have come back to school in January, you'll notice at some of our schools there's a sign thanking the teachers for what they do. Again, being cheerleaders and encouragers for all that. And this week, the scholarship committee is meeting. We provide anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 college scholarships for kids in the high school, and so that committee will be meeting again to look at applications and make choices for this year's graduating class. It's just there's so many little things that the club does, and many of us who are members, we find our things. So we have a big golf tournament every year, which raises a bunch of money. Probably most nonprofits do something like that. Now, I'm not a golfer. I just show up that day and take a bunch of pictures. That's my gift. There's a lot of others who do the planning and the contacting and whatnot. So we all find our place in the Rotary Club. I've been saying Kim should join the Rotary Club. I'm busy, and I'm saying, well, so are the rest of us.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a great club. It's a great group of people. I've been actually a guest at certain club meetings to promote the center, and so I can't say enough good about all that you do, and it's amazing. To go above and beyond for what you guys do. It's incredible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're lucky to have you in the community, Cal.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
All right, Joe, would you like to take the next question?
Yes. What do you like most about the Westerly community?
Well, you know, I served the church up in Norwich for 26 years. And in that time, I got involved in a couple of programs. And one was a program to revitalize the downtown. And if you've been up Norwich Way, you know, had a beautiful downtown, great historic buildings, but a lot of businesses moved out many years ago. I came down to Westerly, though, and I love the downtown. We live not too far, so I take a walk through the downtown regularly. It's a thriving place. And Lisa Kanicki and the Chamber of Commerce has done such a wonderful job of bringing attention to so many areas of Westerly, but especially the downtown. It's a vibrant community, all kinds of things happening, the arts and, the virtual art festival, Shakespeare in the Park. You got so many wonderful things. And I love it. It is so alive. I realized one day when I was taking a walk down at Musquamaket Beach that a lot of people have to go away to find that beautiful resort type community. And it dawned on me, I live in one of those places where people want to come and want to be. The other thing is I mentioned I have 3 grown daughters and they live all around the country. They love the beach. So when we moved down here, we said, well, this is one way to make sure they come home on a regular basis, and especially during the summer. So it's been good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think that our community. I love that our community is arts oriented, and I think that we have a great community here, and we are lucky. And people love the area because it's beautiful. We got the beach. It's a beautiful little town. So that's good. So Martin, would you like to take the next? It's the last question, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What else would you like others to know?
Let's see. I wish I could take you for a virtual tour around my office. It's kind of like a museum.
Oh.
Yeah, I have all my toys in here. The kids love to come in, and there are some toys I let them play with and some I don't. But I mentioned I have a lot of interest from the sports interest to the presidential history, the Trekkies. And I have this big tiger sitting over here with a tiger cat that someone gave me. Over the years, people have blessed me with gifts. Probably one thing that you really should know, I have to confess, is that I have a Mustang a red Mustang convertible
Oh,
that
wow.
just fits in so well with the beach community, and I love it. And it was a gift. I had a friend of mine a few years ago who he's a car guy, and he had said to me, he said, "Hey, you want to take a ride with me? I've got to head upstate New York, Cooperstown, to get a car." And so I went with him in his truck. We drove up towards Cooperstown, and he said, "Oh, I got to stop here in Albany." He says, "There's another car that I found that I want to look at." And so we got there, and he got out, and he's looking at some car, and I'm sitting in the truck, and I noticed this red Mustang convertible. And so I said, "Hey, Ray, look, there's my dream car." So he comes back, all smiles, and he says, "Yeah." He says, "You've always talked about that stupid Mustang. Well, let's see how much you want for it." And I said, "No, I could never afford that." And he says, "Well, I'm going to go talk to the guy." He comes back in a couple of minutes. He's got the keys, and he says, "Here, take it for a ride." And I said, "Ray, I can't. It says sold on it. What if I smashed it up or something?" He says, "No, really, take it for a ride. It's yours." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he began to tell me. He said, "You know, Cal," he said, when my mother died, I called you in the middle of the night, and you showed up. When I was in the hospital with cancer, you were there every day. When my wife had a stroke, you came and visited, and you were already down in Westerly. So when my son died, I didn't know who to turn to. I called you, and you were always there. Whenever I tried to give you some money or say, "Well, how can I pay you back?" You say, "That's what friends are for." And he said, "Recently I came into a little bit of money, and I have everything I need." And so I started thinking what I could do. I gave some money away, and then I thought about you and that stupid Mustang. So I got to work on the internet, and I found this one. It's a perfect one. You won't kill yourself in it. It's not one of those, 5.0, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
He said, "Here, this is what friends are for, to say thank you for all you've done for me and for so many others." And it just, I started crying, and it was just so beautiful. So again, what I say is not that you're going to get a Mustang, but I say, if you do the right things, if you really care for people, sometimes you get burned, but a lot of times you'll be blessed someday, somewhere down the road. Martin Luther King Jr. said about, he said, "The long arm of justice will always come back as something
Right.
back."
Yeah.
If you do the right thing, you will be blessed at some point.
That sounds good. Awesome. Great.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law used to always say, "Just do the right thing."
That's right.
Just
Do the right thing.
Yeah.
It's very, very general, but we got it, So
Right.
I don't know. So Cal, it's been such a pleasure to chat with you today. We thank you for all that you do for our community and for everyone. And we thank you for your time, because we know, that you are a busy guy. And say hi to everyone at the Rotary Club for me.
I will.
And
Yeah.
one of these days I may consider. but
Okay.
I'm
Well,
busy right now.
I'm the membership chair, so I'll keep asking. Anybody
There you go.
who's listening out there, if you want to know more about Rotary and all the great stuff and how you could be a part of it, you give me a call. Just call Central Baptist and say, "I want to talk to Pastor Cal about Rotary." And
There you go.
through.
Well, we wish you well now and in the coming months. We're hoping that, things will calm down with the pandemic and we can get back to somewhat of a normal, whatever that will be. But in the meantime, I think we're heading in the right direction, I hope. So I hope so. Anyway.
Well, thank you for having me, Joey, Martin. Tim, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to also thank Ben Barber for producing our broadcast today, and to thank Martin and Joe for being great hosts. You did an amazing job. And to our audience, thank you for listening in. If you happen to have missed it, it will be on our social media pages. So anyway, keep an eye on our next, on Facebook for our next broadcast. Sarah Luffler from the Ocean Community YMCA is our guest next week. So meantime, stay safe and healthy. And
Well, that's it for now. We'll see you next time on the beat.
all right, great job, guys. See you later.